Is Sculptra better than fillers? They're different. So fillers usually refer to hyaluronic acid-based injectables, which can be injected into strategic areas of the face and sometimes in some areas of the body to give volume, structure and shape. They come in many different shapes and forms, many different textures, some which are more lifting, some which are more moldable, for example, so that we can treat different areas. Sculptra falls into the family of biostimulators. So it's actually in powder form. It has to be mixed, and then that's got to be done a certain length of time before actually being injected. It's then injected into areas with volume loss, and so of course immediately you have this liquid there that wasn't there before. But the real results from Sculptra come over a long period of time as the collagen and elastin stimulation kicks in, and you then have this increase in volume, and in some cases, depending on where it's injected, also an improvement in skin quality. I would say there are certain benefits to hyaluronic acid-based fillers which have made me very comfortable using them over time. For example, the fact that if there were a problem, it can be dissolved. With Sculptra, that's not the case. So the product itself isn't dissolvable, and you have to follow quite strict home care procedures to ensure that you have an even result that isn't all lumpy and bumpy. And if you do end up with those lumps or bumps, it can be very, very difficult to treat. For me, there definitely is a place for Sculptra or injectables like it, and particularly for me, that's a face where the whole face is volume depleted. I call it global volume loss, and in these patients, rebuilding that volume gently and gradually can be really beneficial. And then we would often, after it's fully kicked in, layer that with some hyaluronic acid. It's also important to realize that, as I just sort of hinted at, with Sculptra, it's usually that you need several treatment sessions spaced a few months apart. Science has also evolved, and there are now new forms of injectable where Sculptra is something called poly-L-lactic acid. We now have a product called Juvelook and one called Lenisna, which use poly-D-L-lactic acid, which is a more spherical molecule associated with less formation of lumps and bumps, and so therefore less risks and side effects. And that's the product that we use in my clinic. So if you were to come in and you were someone who really had this global volume loss, we might suggest restoring some volume with a course of Lenisna first, and then possibly using some targeted hyaluronic acid as a final step to provide shape, structure, and to treat some of those more delicate areas where we might want to prefer to use something dissolvable.
If this content has been useful for you, please give it a thumbs up or send me a little message below, and please do subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this.